Yeah.
I was driving since then.
I drive with my sunglasses on, so I can't really see, so it's like this driving that curve. You only need one eye to pass driving test, so. Just instead, that's why I parked over here, and you parked over there, so just remember that.
Okay, we'll call to order the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Education here. First thing we need to do is approval of agenda.
I move we approve the agenda.
Motion.
Second.
And a second, all those in favor? Approved 7-0. And the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Appreciate all those here tonight in attendance, everybody watching on the video. Those videos stay on there for people that if there's parts that you want to go rewatch and you have an opportunity to do it. So, appreciate everybody taking part in the meetings that wants to. And we have citizens open forum, which I guess we didn't have any more. Received communications. So jump right into the presentation.
Mr. Weller, come on.
Can I keep y'all?
You go ahead.
So while he's getting set up, so Mr. Weller helped, is helping me co-lead one of our, goal areas, stakeholder engagement. And we had a community event this past, was it February or January, somewhere in there? And had a bunch of community members come in and give us a bunch of feedback. Matt's officially transferred over to his new role. But behind the scenes, he's been doing some things, what we are calling low hanging fruit, some of those things that weren't really that adaptive of change that we received feedback from. And so he's been working on some of those, obviously some of them that are more adaptive and that are going to take longer and be more complex. He'll share with you a few of those things tonight. And I love his why statement that he put in his presentation. It's really good. So hopefully enjoy it.
So I ended my principal job the third week in June and basically started right away at this job. And like Mr. Nelson said, trying to do some low hanging fruit. So it's kind of a combination here of stakeholder engagement and then also kind of my role and some of the things that I started with. And obviously, working together because it's a brand new position, trying to figure out exactly the why and where I want to go with it and where the district wants to go with it. So that you've seen before, that's stakeholder engagement. That's the area that Mr. Nelson said that back in January and February that he and I kind of got together with, and that's, I think most of you attended that night. And so I thought it went really well. We got a lot of good ideas. Basically the two questions we asked that night are what does engagement and communication look like in the district and how can we do it better as a district? And so there was 4 things we said. If you remember, we sent out a survey to everybody that went to the meeting and some people who didn't go. But there's 4 areas there that kind of the common themes that we came up with that were the majority of things that were discussed that night, and a lot of really good ideas. So we took those ideas and then we said, okay, what can we do from that point until the end of the school year, which is a little bit challenging with me being still being principal, but trying to get, like Brett said, some low hanging fruit, and then what needs to be done then starting after I started my new role. So 3 goals there that I kind of came up for myself based upon some things that I saw. And I think my role is going to morph as the year goes on, but in starting with, I think this is where we've talked about some areas that we want to improve on as a district, and then ways that I can help with that. So those 3 are there. Biggest thing I've told people, I've been to Rotary Club. I've gotten in touch with the Wakefield Lions Club. I'm going to try to get down there. I'm going to try to do as many different community things as possible to get out and talk to patrons. And I just, whether it be parents or community members, the goal would be that a year from now, if they could say, I think I know, A, I know more about the district than I did before, and B, I felt like I had a say, right? I had a voice in the district. We did that, and I feel like I would help us to get it doing our job as far as what my new role is. So that's kind of what my personal vision statement is moving forward, from there. So I called it first order changes and second order changes. So first order changes were things that I felt like from January until the end of the school year, these are things that we could do right now and get that stuff done. So these are all things that have been done, or some of the stuff was already done. It's just that people didn't know they were done. So really it was a matter of communicating it to them. So setting up the individual schools, so they could be on the website event calendar, that was an easy fix. A lot of people wanted to have the staff directories on the building's website page, so that's on there now. So everybody, every certified staff member can be seen on each building's website page. Finding different ways to communicate the Board of Education meeting minutes, briefs, building reports, those are all in one spot, and we also, but a lot of people just, I don't think they know. So it's just a matter of communicating that those are there. Like what Tracy said, you can go back to a video whenever you want to and watch it, but being able to know how to get there. So I'm looking at ways to do a lot of how-to videos through our website and showing this is how you get to this is how you can view these things, and maybe put that on social media, and social media is going to get them where they need to go. And then also I think we heard a lot of our social media pages are really good in our district, but they focus a lot on activities and events, especially at the middle school and high school, because that's what I did when I was an activity director. I focused a lot on that too, but we're doing a lot of great things in classrooms. So let's showcase those things as well. So my goal is to get into a building at least once each week and to showcase and also to have teachers send me things that they're doing in their classrooms, and we could showcase that out to the community as well. That the academic side of things and what we're doing and the programs we're doing as far as that goes too. And then second order changes are things that I've started working on since I've come on to the job full time. The article on left, I don't know, Mr. Nelson, if you sent that to the board meeting, probably not.
I think they saw it.
They've seen it. So that was just something that we did to showcase the compensation changes that were made, which I think were very positive. And so we wanted to showcase that to the staff. And so that was sent out. Already talked about the how-to videos. The YouTube channel is basically already there. It's just a matter of how can we expand that? So how can we include videos of things that people are going to want to go to that area and see those things? Already utilizing radio and newspaper, but continue to do that. One of the things that they talked about was two-way communication. So not just, hey, we're communicating to you that this is how this is what's going on in our district, but also what do you think, right? So trying to find different ways to do that. One of the ways that Mr. Nelson and I talked about was a question of the week on the website, that, whether you show the results or not, it would be feedback that we would get. And then we could take that and we could use that for, things that we want feedback on from the community. I already talked about attending as many community stakeholder organizations like Rotary, Wake Up Wednesdays, Lions Club and things like that, because lots of times indirect conversations happen in those things, and people, they want to know. They may not realize when they're there, they want to know, but all of a sudden they're in a conversation. They're like, hey, tell me about this. I don't have any idea what this is. What is this? And hopefully I can help out with that. The Clay County Community Improvement Foundation is an area that I'm working on to try and help in recruitment and retention. They do a lot of really great things around our community, and they have money to spend. And so is there a way that we can utilize that to help with recruitment and retention staff, which is kind of morphed into our other area, but yet it's kind of in my wheelhouse too. The biggest thing is just, I have always said as a principal that if you don't tell your story, somebody else will. And so the ultimate goal that I have is to tell our story as a district, because I think it's really, really important. Because I think we have a great district and want to showcase that. So kind of the starting point for me. And like I said, I think a year from now, my job will look different, because I tell people I'm building the plane a little bit as a client, but the hope would be that this is a good starting point for me moving forward. And as always, if we have, if you guys have any ideas or as far as the way you want to guide, then let me know. Questions?
We'll share a little bit about the, it's not bold, it's the one that, the class for the year that you're gonna go to, the 5 events.
Yeah, so KASB, it's brand new. Help me have her name, Brad, sorry. Yeah, Krista Majet.
Yeah.
And it's basically, it's a year-long training for people in my position, which is perfect timing. Because for those of you who don't know, I was a journalism teacher for a long time at Chapman. And so I have that background, but there's parts of this stuff that I'm missing in terms of PR. And so it's gonna be a great opportunity for me to go. It's throughout the year. I think it's 6 or 7 different dates, and Kristen works for KSB. She helped us through some situations over the past year, and did a really good job. And it's actually, I knew her husband, student taught, I think, at Chapman. So I kind of had a background there with her then too, but really excited to be a part of that. And so most importantly, you're gonna go meet with other people who are doing my job. And that's, I mean, a lot of these ideas that I've already gotten is from those people I went to a conference in the spring, and the best PD I had. So looking forward to that too.
Good.
Okay,
Sounds good.
thanks all.
Thanks. Next is a consent agenda. Any questions? I have one just on the grant writing request. That's a board. Would you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, that's an example of a picture board for kiddos who are nonverbal. So they can point to the word. A lot of them have, if we have a kiddo that's nonverbal, they might have one of these on like an iPad. But those don't go out to the recess playground just because we don't want them to get dropped or damaged. And so their thought was to have one out there on the board that they could use for kids to point to for things that they need. Instead of taking those resources outside and having them damaged. So,
What was the amount? Oh, so this will come inside and back out, or once it's out there?
no,
it'll be
I
out?
think it's meant for outside. I think it's around 500. I think that's what they said.
Well, on a personal note, I want to say thanks to the Virginia Grace family for that memorial. And Virginia was a para at Garfield for a long, long time. We lost her not that long ago. So it's grateful that the family thought to get back to school.
Anything else on consent agenda? Thought I moved to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Motion carried 7-0. Go to board reports, closing comments. Go ahead, anybody?
Shout out to Andrea and the office team for getting everything turned around, the budget crunch for us, so we can make the decisions that we need to make today. Sure, the last few weeks have not been a lot of fun.
Found guys and stuff too. It's heat outside working and everybody's got to work outside. It's not fun, but we appreciate it.
I wanted to thank too the sponsors and coaches supporting the student activities this summer, whether it's taking into competitions or camps or practices. And I appreciate them giving their time to help the students succeed.
Anything else? All right. Brett, will you give your report?
Yeah, you can read what I have there. We're monitoring enrollment closely as we head into this year. Kindergarten's always a wild card, and we always compare outgoing senior class to incoming kindergarten. And we never know in totality the number of students that are actually gonna come, but we do appear to be down rather significantly, both in Wakefield and Clay Center. And just as a reminder, that won't affect us financially for a year. And so, but it's likely that we will, if we don't grab some more kindergartners, it could be something we really need to talk about going into next year for the following year.
You know, we'll be a big hit next year too, that junior class. Or gonna be senior class has been the biggest class.
Yeah,
They're all been in there.
they've been big since they started.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We don't want to spend too much time on it until we know how many kids come through the door, but just wanted to let you know, it's really keep an eye on. And my report was already done, but we were notified that we were awarded for the school safety security grant that we wrote for. And, you know, we've never been awarded the whole amount, but we were awarded, I think right at 19,000, just shy of 20. And we had 20,000 in the budget. That's a matching grant. So that's why we're gonna, couldn't spend any more than 20 because that's what we have budgeted. So we will have 40,000 to spend on some intercom work and school safety stuff. So that'll be good. You can't see it.
Yes.
How big was it? I'm not confused. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
How did you kind of want it? Is these all new or is this?
No, that's the whole list.
Okay.
And so we counted
I know it's hard to see, but yeah, I think it was maybe,
less than 10.
yeah.
It was less than 10.
If you look at the, I know it's hard to see, I'm sorry, the row that says like last school attended, if it says USD 379 or something, those are all the returning. So only if it says some out of district place in that column are they in.
And it was very typical to what it is every year. We usually lose some and we have some new ones come, and so I don't anticipate that affecting positively or negatively much in either direction.
Very good. You got any questions for Brett? Go to Dita. Do you have any questions for Dita? Any progress on the openings since you put the report
Yeah,
together?
we just have 2 pair of positions left to fill and that week they'll teacher since they lost one. And to fill it. Got a line I'm working with right now, so.
Are you, Nita, are you noticing that that career field itself, I mean, is it getting where there's getting less and less people
A lot of
involved
work.
now?
It is, even at the college level, they'll tell you it's just like education, but they don't have enough. I used to teach overload for 4As and I haven't this is my 2nd year. They don't have enough to even have an overload of candidates going to college.
Other states, have you noticed they're in the same dilemma?
I think it's just across the board.
Okay.
I think there's overwork. I think some lack of respect for the job that gets done and pay. There's just, you can make more money doing other things and sad, but we don't have people that we need in education. But so it's a good thing that at least the state of Kansas has given us some alternative ways to license people because we are able to get, paras or people who had a gen ed teaching degree, on a different path to be special education teachers. So we like working with that.
No, Jackie?
What ages and stages snapshots?
The parents fill it out. Think of the questions when you like take your kid to their 1-year-old appointment with their doctor and they ask you developmental file stuff. Yeah. Same kind of thing but the parents answer it, for the kids.
Yeah, people come back to work early one day. Since the enrollment's off July 31st, some people don't come to work till August 1st.
Nobody's August 1st. Everybody comes back that week in July, either Monday or Tuesday.
Even classified people.
Unless they're 9 months, but meaning like a para or an aide, they have to come back. So
Just go to kick off thing real quick.
yeah, I put the reminder of the kickoff on Wednesday, August 7th. As many of you that can come, we'd love to have you there. We'll be at the high school auditorium in the morning at 8:30 and I'll work with Tracy on giving the intro, but you all are welcome to be there. And there's the required trainings that our staff attend. You're welcome to go to those, and then there's lunch as well. So.
We'll be enrollment here is coming up towards the end of July.
Yeah, we hope to open enrollment next week. We're gonna pilot some I started piloting 2 today, and I'm hoping people here in the office, will practice on our kids first. And make sure we don't have any mistakes, and then get that stuff run online, and then July 31st and August 1st, our buildings will be open for families to come in and start turning in. If you're at the secondary level, you can start turning in your physicals, if you need to do that. Whatever other needs you have, giving tours of the building if families need that, if they have questions. If they don't feel comfortable enrolling at home, we have computers set up at the schools, and we have staff members that'll sit beside them and help walk them through that process.
One thing is, the driver's ed looking for somebody else, is that as a replacement or to add somebody?
It's because both of ours are resigning.
Okay.
So, we could reach out to a couple different groups to see if they have people, but we'll pay more for it. So trying to see if we can get somebody trained in-house, and I have 2 people in the last week that have reached out, and they're gonna set up meetings to find out a little bit more about the coursework. So there's some hope. So that would be.
Somebody else? Thank you. John, not for me. Good. We'll move on to discussion items. Brett, start with the revenue neutral.
Yeah, and I won't read the whole report, but, I'll jump kind of to the meat of it. So last year, for this past fiscal year, we stayed revenue neutral. I put a little chart in there for you. So that means essentially for our public that we're collecting less tax dollars from the public that year than we did the year before. So we did that last year, and we also built you an option to do that again this year. And so that option would be option A, and we would be collecting about $25,000 less in taxes for this upcoming year than we did the previous year. In order to do that, we did a couple of things, and I'll highlight that. One was, if you go back and read my budget report from last year, when we made that transfer from contingency to help the LOB mill levy, we did that with the plan of stair stepping that down over a period of time. And so last year we were at 200. This year, this budget's built at 68,000. We might have to do a little bit more at the end of the year to get that cash balance to stay neutral in LOB, otherwise it fluctuates the levy. And so, long story short, A is planned with a $68,000 transfer from contingency into LOB to keep us revenue neutral. Essentially, we did have to go down from 7 to 6 mills in capital outlay. But we did, we're collecting, again, 25,000 less, so we're collecting close to the same, but we're collecting it in LOB instead of capital outlay, if that makes sense. So LOB will be up around 16, and last year was in the 13s. And so we're collecting about the same amount, but the reason we're doing that is because an LOB is our highest aid collecting fund. It's at 32 or 33%, and capital outlays at 23. And so by collecting those dollars in LOB instead of capital outlay, we're raising more money from state aid. And state aid means it's coming from other communities. It's dollars coming from other communities and not ours. And so it lessens the tax burden on our residents. And so, but it's what that means is we'll either have to reallocate an expenditure from LOB or from capital outlay and LOB, or pay for something that we had budgeted in our capital outlay plan out of LOB, because that's where we're collecting to fund the same budget. And so and we can cross this bridge a little bit later in the year, but just initially, I think the simplest thing we'll do is, if you remember, we have a line item in our capital outlay budget of about 115,000 for technology in our 5-year plan. So initially, it probably is going to make the most sense to just pay for that out of LOB instead of capital outlay to offset that revenue versus expenditure. So we did go ahead and include an option, just so you, more for information, but of course you can adopt whichever one you would like. But, we did keep one doing build one doing no transfer to contingency. So in B, there's no transfer to contingency and keeping capital outlay at 7 mils. And that one would exceed revenue neutral. And something important to note is, if you look at option A, that last far bottom right column where it says 28.277. And you might say, well, we had that originally built, at 28.222. But then that wouldn't trigger us to be able to publish. And we want to, my advice would be that you go ahead and vote to exceed R&R anyways, even though we're not. So, and the biggest reason is we build this budget off of an estimated assessed valuation that we get in June. And so we get that from the county and it's an estimate, and then that final doesn't come in until November, and they're always different. And if you don't vote to exceed, even though you're not going to, Kayla won't be able to adjust our rate. And 9 times out of 10, it's in our favor. And so, and then if it's not in our favor, and it's lower, or they collect less, then the county would have to send out like a 5-cent refund to every person in the county. And so, in other words, she can't adjust her rate based on actuals unless you vote to exceed. And then if anything weird would happen with tax collections or whatnot, it gives us the flexibility to make changes if we need to. The odds of that probably aren't very good, but
How much money do we have in our contingency reserve? Do you know, does anybody know?
800
$800,000.
I want to thank you because we did challenge you to keep us from needing to increase that local tax rate. And I know it's not easy to try to make sure that the budget can squeeze underneath it. Second year in a row, you've been able to accomplish it. I mean, I understand we can't keep doing it year after year, but we appreciate the creativity that it took to make it happen again this year.
state aid was a huge factor. So LOB, this should be the last year we see this really strong effects from the big increase in assessed valuation from 3 years ago, because LOB aids on a 3-year average. Capital outlays on a 1 year, so it changes the next year. So whatever your assessed valuation is, it hits the very next year. And so that hit, those two funds hit really, I put the amount in here, I think, I can't remember what it was, but those two funds hit really, really hard the last 2 years. And because we were flat or a little less in assessed valuation last year and up just a little bit this year, it really leveled us out when they compare us to the other 286. So we actually increased in aid and capital outlay and bond. And it really, really helped us in the bond fund because we are collecting about $100,000 more in state aid in the bond fund. So that helped us really keep that levy down. Our cash basis is in a really good position in that fund too. And so just one of those factors that's not, it's out of our control and we don't know what that state aid is going to do. But when we're a good state aid district, it has a big impact on collections. And so that really was a very, very positive thing for us. Otherwise, it would have been nearly probably impossible to stay revenue neutral if we would have had to continue making up for that loss of aid. But you're right, this is not a long-term sustainable option. We can't do this for the next 5 years. We can keep doing it as long as we can, but at some point, Dale Dennis, he's a longtime KSD finance guy, and he always says, it's just like your mechanic. Pay me now or pay me later. And so we'll keep doing it as long as we can, so.
Like I said, that getting that LOB bigger just brings in us more state aid, saves taxpayers dollars. And that's what we're here. Like I said, again, it's a great job with the plan and coming up that we're gonna take 25,000 less in tax dollars than what we collected a year ago from the taxpayers, and everybody could use a little help with the way things have been the last couple of years. So I think it's a good option to move forward. Anybody have any questions? Well, I moved to give final approval to proceed with budget option A and authorize district staff to submit estimated tax rates to the county clerks as presented.
Second.
Have a second, all those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. School year appointments.
These are our annual notifications. And happy to answer any questions.
Johnson? I'll move to approve the 24-25 school year appointments as presented.
Second.
Have a second, all those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Policy updates.
You need the gap waiver. Part of that also, in their second part of that one. Resolution on the gap waiver.
That's on the school year appointments. Dusty, is that what you're?
As I just
In
explained.
the past, we had a motion to approve that resolution. But I don't know if it counts in the appointments, it says basically approve the resolution. So whatever you think we need,
I'd
go ahead.
go ahead and have a motion to approve resolution 7/15/24B.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all those in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
Whatever makes best of that.
Now, what, like that.
Thanks for staying awake over there, Dusty.
Ratification of the agreement.
Policy updates.
Oh, policy update, yeah.
Sorry, I messed it all up. Crazy.
I already put my X through it, like I'm moving to the next.
So policy update.
Yeah, the second, or maybe the third month you've seen second, but the Title IX stuff with the state put in place, we took, KSV recommended that we take those out. So until we find out what the courts and everything will do with those, but nothing else has changed.
Good questions? Others? I move to final approval of the policy updates as presented.
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Now we can do ratification of the negotiated agreement.
Pretty simple. You guys have been, working and talking about this for the last 4 or 5 months, and this is just finalizing it. The association voted to ratify and approve, and now it's waiting on action from you. And once that's done, the new agreement will go into place.
Questions?
Where does that put our base with everybody else? Have you heard anybody else doing it?
You don't really, everyone kind of tries to stay a little quiet because we're competing with each other so much, but I think we will be in the top 3 in our area.
Good.
Still.
Good.
Wanted to make sure.
I move to give final approval and ratification of the 2024-2025 negotiated agreement as presented.
Second.
Is there a second? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Building staff handbooks.
Again, second month, you had first read last month, but happy to take any question.
Questions?
They notice on the high school, there's some people on there that find them too.
We can claim it exactly. Kind of a moving target.
Anything else? I move to approve the building staff handbooks for 2024-2025.
Second.
Got a second? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Approval of the substitute handbook for 2024-2025.
The only change was
The only change was.
$10.
Yeah.
Good with that, man.
Yeah.
Since they've increased. Questions on anything else there? I move to give final approval for the 2024-2025 substitute handbook as presented.
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Employee compensation. 2024-25.
Yeah, so we have a few people, it's our smallest group of employees, but you guys have taken care of our classified hourly, certified through the negotiated agreement, and then we have everybody else that's left outside of the negotiated agreement or the classified handbook. And we would recommend or have you consider doing the same that you did for teachers. Obviously, our hourly classified got a much higher percentage, and they should, but our certified was at 4%, and so we would ask that you consider doing 4% for the people not covered by either one of those agreements.
In the history, is that pretty much how it's went, or is it varied since you've been here, Brett, or just curious?
Always, I think every year since I've been here, that's the way it's been.
Sure, only thing on this, it didn't actually say. Percent.
Might be a good thing to add in there.
Put that in there.
Yeah.
They have any questions? I move to get final approval for the salary for the 4% increase for salaried employees not covered by the negotiated agreement for the 2024-2025 fiscal year as presented.
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Motion carries.
Most of them are in this office. I could, if you would have left it out.
Tiger House.
Yeah, I don't believe we need any action tonight. We just kind of wanted to keep you in the loop on our thoughts. We don't have a buyer yet, but the team has put together a good plan to build basically a spec house. And then whoever buys it will have the options to do what they need to do there. And Brandon and his team and Andrea put together an RFP with the whole package of what it will take, most everything that it would take to build the house. And so we are recommending that we put it out to an RFP and do our traditional sealed bid process, advertise, and then have a more formal bid opening. And then whoever it's awarded to, you guys would approve that in August. And then Andrea would open, basically, it's like a line of credit with whoever wins the bid. So we'd do one PO and it would just eat off of that one PO. And Brandon would order things underneath that PO if he needed them. So the whole package didn't show up all at once.
We good on timeline, man, so they'll have stuff in place by the time school starts and you need it.
Yeah, as long as by August, I can be ordering floor joists,
Yeah.
maybe no later than that,
Yeah.
so.
We've got it to approve, then it will be accurate for both obviously,
Okay.
so it should be able to.
Okay.
Work around that.
I was just saying, if we needed to have come in, if we got them back, we needed to have a special meeting so we could get that ball rolling, so they're not sitting around waiting and stuff. You know,
It takes that. Just need to let us know.
yeah,
But I like this way it's being put together tonight. Very good. All right. Any other questions around?
No, I think we're good if you guys are good.
Okay. Bus radios.
Yeah, this has been Mr. McCoy's, he's been working on this. This is somewhat coming down from the state level and changing over to the 800 frequency radios. They're really expensive, and so we've been phasing them in. We started last year. Mike went out, Mr. McCoy went out and got 3 bids from 3 different vendors on the radios. There is one, be careful when you look at it. It looks like it's less, but it's a quote for only 1 set of everything, not 7. It threw me for a loop when I first looked at it, but,
It's kind of pricey.
right. And that's through the state contract, I
I
believe.
say that's through the Kansas Highway Patrol.
It may be a different brand. I don't know all the ins and outs, but anyhow, this is kind of phase 2. And then next year will be phase 3, and this will make sure we get, this style of radio in all of our buses, because prior our current radio system, if you get too far out in the county, the drivers can't communicate with the bus barn. And so, this will be good for that. So.
Any other questions?
Again, on these radios itself, for instance, do we have any repeaters stationed throughout the county itself that we use, for instance, off of somebody's facility?
We used to, and these radios don't, my understanding is don't need one. Somehow they just work on a certain frequency, and I can ask Mike, I don't really know how it works, but we do have been talking to law enforcement a little bit about establishing a shared channel that we could initiate. We'd have to do an MOU with them. We think you guys would have to agree to it, but if we ever did have like a community-wide crisis or even a crisis in our district, it would allow us to flip to a channel and communicate directly with them. And a lot of people think, well, why? Well, we are the county backup option in a lot of scenarios, because of the size of our facilities and our ability to transport people. And so we are the countywide backup plan for a lot of transportation and different emergencies that might happen. And so we're kind of talking about that a little bit and what that might look like, to have that ability down the road to, communicate directly with them if they needed to. So I think we have to establish a channel, and then we both have to agree to share the channel. I'm sure all the that's, but we can talk about it a little bit. So,
Yeah, that's why I get curious about, you know, if you've had any prior discussions with, let's say, emergency management. For instance, I know Pam Kemp has been very proactive, you know, in her as director and her approach, you know, for years now. And that's why I didn't sure if the district in the past has, you know, ever had any collaboration, I suppose, with emergency management.
yeah, we meet with them pretty regularly.
Okay, good.
I think for a couple of years there, it was once a week.
Anything else? I move you final approval to purchase 7 bus radios from Home and Electrics in the amount of $19,950.
Second.
Is there a second? All those in favor? Motion carries. Naming rights.
Yeah, so this is a first read. I have Mr. Ferguson here with us too, if you have any questions, but long story, this has kind of been something that we've had on, well, maybe for a couple of years. And so it's a really great thing to be able to partner with businesses and different folks throughout our community. In the past, there's been quite a bit of gray area around it, and you know, we want to try to build and sustain systemically in every area that we can do for a district for when we're not here anymore, that it can, somebody else can pick it up and take over and know what's going on. And so kind of what we're striving to do is anytime we advertise in our schools, number one, we already have a board policy that the board has to approve it. But number two, to see if we can put some terms that both the school district and the person advertising agree to, if that makes sense. And it's kind of been all over the place. Like I at one building might go out and have a name on something for X amount of dollars, and the school across town might do it for a completely different amount. So I don't know if this is the right levels yet or not, but just be happy to take feedback on it. But we're wanting to kind of establish some protocols, some guidelines around this, and both for the district's protection and the person who's donating or advertising's protection also. So that when you go into an agreement, you know how much it's for, how long it's gonna last, and what your options are at the end of the term. And so Mr. Ferguson is here because they've been working on raising some money to redo the volleyball positioning of the court at the high school so they can bring down both bleachers during the game. And so they're wanting to add some advertising options on.
Advertising options, they don't pay for the cost.
And so if you guys are on board with it, is what we'd like to do is kind of use this framework with this project and see how it works and see how it's received by, you know, some of the businesses, and how it works on our end, how it works on their end. And then maybe in a month or so, come back and talk about it and say, well, this went well, or this maybe was too much or not enough, kind of that kind of thing. And then once we all feel good about it, maybe making it a part of our policy, just putting in our naming rights policy that one of these has to be filled out for anything.
What's the asterisk on the last two columns?
Scroll down.
What's that?
It goes up to number 5.
Where is it at?
Says 25 to 49,000 asterisk, 50,000 plus asterisk.
Number 5 there.
Number 5, okay, I missed that.
So if you give it,
You don't have
if
to
it's
like that.
anything over 25,000, so substantial that at the end of that term, that business would get first right of refusal.
Gotcha.
I feel like it's awfully cheap. Just paying for advertising myself, it's a lot. For 5 years, that's pretty,
$5,000 for 5 years.
Yeah.
$1,000 a year.
But they could do it for 2,500.
that's really cheap.
The lower level's 2,500.
Yeah, 25 to 5.
Yeah.
Depending on what.
Depends on what you're advertising.
I don't know, we needed a new scoreboard at our softball, or field in Wakefield, and it was $5,600. I think by the time we got it and did the shipping and the naming on it and everything. And we made phone calls and we got 18 places to donate $300 a piece. And then we went back and put a little 2-foot by 2-foot placard with their business around that scoreboard, but it paid for the scoreboard, paid for the shipping, paid for everything. And we told them that that was good for 2 years, and if after 2 years they wanted to leave it up there, they had to pay another $300. Which sounds cheap, but our softball field gets used for the summer and that's it, so, as far as that goes. So, I mean, there's ways to do it and people will put money towards it, but. I'd be interested to see who would give $10,000 to have their name on a volleyball standard. I mean, or 5,000, but maybe that's a place to start and see how it works.
Yeah.
As far as that goes. And here's the other thing too, is. You gotta think about if that person decides not to do it when the term is up, then you gotta buy new. Whatever that logo was on.
And that's part of the agreement
Yeah,
is,
you understand what I'm saying? Say that person decides after 5-10 years that, oh, I'm done, I don't want to put out anymore. They got the right to say that, but then you gotta think about to get rid of their logo, you've gotta replace whatever that logo is on.
Hopefully get somebody to do it again.
Well, I understand, but you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, because I think it says in there that if they even change their logo and decide they want to change in the middle, they gotta pay
Pay
for
for it.
that. They gotta pay for that extra. I think the biggest mistake we can make on the volleyball thing is to do it too cheap. Because it's setting the precedence of it, just to be. But I think, top of my head, I think $1,000 a year. Even if that gets us into a 3-year for $3,000 or whatever. I think is a decent number to.
I don't know what it costs to advertise in a newspaper, because I don't advertise in a newspaper. What's it cost to advertise a month in a newspaper? Like you get those little ads in a paper. I mean, I don't know what it costs because I don't do it, but
and
you think about that on a weekly basis.
And how it's used, I think
And
that's
how
part
it's
of
used
it.
too,
Yeah,
and you also gotta think too, that some of that stuff. Say volleyball standard or volleyball net or however, I don't know where they're gonna put the logo,
I don't either.
but. Volleyball lasts what, 6 weeks?
right, and then it's put up.
Then it's put up. You don't see it till next volleyball
There's a
season.
summer deal, or if it could be placed somewhere when it's up in the ceiling, you can still see it.
This particular setup would be disassembled and put away.
Okay.
It's
So that when you bring it back out, the logo's not screwed up. and
there's
it's-
different
Yeah.
parts to the unit where you can look, we'll have advertising over here on the official stand for this amount, and then on the padding itself for a smaller amount across the netting.
In the umpire stand, the
Yeah.
official stand, you can put advertising around it.
Right.
There's certain places, but you also too, for $2,500, I'm gonna get advertising for 6 weeks. Or 8 weeks, however long volleyball season is.
Right, that's got played part in it.
Yeah,
The main one I think about is the gym floor. We're getting ready to do the gym floor here. That's a high dollar thing. It's used a tremendous amount of money. There's an opportunity for us to shape some of the district expense of that gym floor that we're getting.
And I don't know what Keisha says about advertising on a high school basketball court. But, as far as that goes, when we did the football field, you had to stay off the playing surface, so the playing surface on basketball courts. Covered up by your bleachers when the basketball game's going on, so I'm not so how beneficial that's really gonna be.
I think down the ends you could do it still.
Well, you probably could, and that floor up here in this school, in the high school up here is 10 foot longer than regulation. So when we redo it, we could shrink it to the actual high school floor, gives you more rooms on both ends, then you could probably do something with that, but.
I think this is going down, I think this is going down the right path.
This is a starting point.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So maybe we
Yeah.
could start with this, and it would be different if it was like the basketball scoreboard where it's always up there, or how many people are seeing it, but this might be a good way to start. See,
But
like,
also, you know, your basketball scoreboard, don't they use it for wrestling? Or
yeah,
they use it for
and
wrestling, yeah,
so it's,
so,
and it's up there year
Yeah,
round.
it's year-
It
it-
costs
yeah,
more than
yeah.
it's something that we're gonna.
but you know, I mean, there's several things that, you know, the advertising part of it will be a limited amount. So think about that as well.
So you're gonna. You'll still use the volleyball nets that are there that go up?
You would for practice.
Practice, okay.
For games, the plan is to, we utilize the varsity, the high school and the district gyms for the sub varsity. We just run two separate courts there. That opens it up for more seating.
Gotcha.
You would turn your volleyball court into the main gym with the basketball court.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So you could only get one court in there by doing that.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the floor company that comes in and redoes our floors can actually put marks on each end where we didn't just do it ourselves as far as marking it up the appropriate lines for volleyball. So very minimal cost on that. So it's something Mr. Moran and I have had talks about it for a few years now. Like pursue this. Open up more seating for sure. It gets kind of crowded and open a lot of postseason matches in 2 years. So.
I like that optimism, Mr. Burns.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you.
thanks.
We'll keep talking about that, try it out and see how it goes. And then
Any other questions on that? Student adult meal prices?
We did get reimbursement rates on Friday, and so we adjusted some breakfast. Pricing to match up with reimbursement rates, so we weren't. We kind of staggered it, I think we did it in half. What the difference was, pretty clear to half of what the difference was, so we didn't hit families all at once.
Questions? I moved to approve the 2024-2025 student and adult meal prices as presented.
Second.
And then the second, all those in favor? Carry 7-0. USD 334 contract update.
Yeah, so this is something that we've been talking about with you for a couple months, and there's 5 districts around USD 334 that they've asked to contract with. And just so you guys know, I think I've said this a couple of times, but this is not gonna have a huge impact on us really either way. I see it more as being a good neighbor, offering options to their families if they would so choose. I do not know of any families that plan to take advantage of this contract as of now. We have had some students enroll, but they have informed us that they just want to come through the non-resident application process versus the contract process. The easy way to think about it, the biggest difference is if a family A that wants to be a contracted student comes, that means that they're going to be a 334 student. And that they can graduate with a 334 diploma. If they're just non-resident enrollment, they're our student and they're no different than a student that lives across the street from the school. Financially, their general fund with weightings is significantly higher than ours, so they get quite a bit more money per pupil than we do because they get that large low enrollment weighting. And so they've agreed to give us that general, for any student that we contract, they would give us the amount they get for general fund, which is more than we would get for a student. We wouldn't get LOB or capital outlay, but it's still significantly higher than we would get in general fund. And because there's not a risk of a large fluctuation of students and it only being a handful, it's not going to cause any staffing or facility issues. Again, I think it's just being a good neighbor, offering this to their families, and then we'll come back and look at it again next year and kind of see how it went, and what we need to do.
Did you get where you were comfortable with the transportation and the special education aspect of it?
Yeah, transportation, we just said. But we haven't spent a lot of time on this, probably too much time, but, we have established a meeting place already. That's gonna continue to be our meeting place, and then it's gonna be up to 334 of those families, how they get to that meeting point. And then special ed, we feel really good after talking to several different people at KSD, both based on our current TELEC bylaws and what we wrote into the contract, that we're protected there from any risk of having to provide services in a location that we would not feasibly be able to do.
Any questions?
Don't you think, Dusty? Probably, I wasn't really sure there
Yeah.
on what to say, but just that they approved.
Motion to approve that, yes.
I move that we approve the cooperative agreement between USD 334 and USD 370. Second. Motion second. All those in favor? Motion carries. 7-2. Field library aid.
Yeah, you guys asked me last month to bring back some data, how much it would cost and, where we might be able to pay for this out of. I also included some staff documents on per pupil and also ratios. And so what we did to come up with that, we took the average wage of all of the aides that we currently have, divided it by that number, and that's the number there. So that's the ballpark of what it costs. Now that depends on their experience and different things, but that's in the neighborhood of what that would cost.
Again, I go back with that being K through 12 building, it needs to be open more than what it is. And so I think we need to pursue additional hours in the library.
Just for, reference. Then Jeff, I know that the last meeting we were discussing that. You mentioned that when Miss Old isn't available during the time frames during the school week, then there's that door's locked in, so there's no access at all for the children to go ahead and use.
I think if a classroom teacher wants to take their kids down there, it's probably available, but there's nobody in there doing books or anything like that.
Okay.
I don't know, it's been. Mike Folks was here and it was 6-7 years ago, we got rid of an aide that we had in there full time for $22,000 we were spending because thought we needed to save money, but. If you look at the number of personnel that have left that building on that comprehensive staff deal compared to some of the other buildings. We're talking, going from 78, 80 kindergartners to 60 at Lincoln, but we're not cutting anything there. As far as that goes.
Well, that's next year.
I understand that, but so is this. This is for next year.
No, I'm saying that the drop in enrollment at Lincoln isn't this August, it's
Yeah, it
next
is.
August.
No, it's this August. We're only gonna have 60
This August?
kindergartners in
Oh,
August.
I thought that was for next.
No, that's this year coming up. So I don't know. I mean, I think, we had a library aide quit at at the middle school and it was advertised the next day and we already hired. So what makes that 6th, 7th and 8th grade student need a library more than a 6th, 7th and 8th grade student at Wakefield? I don't know, for $22,000 or $24,000. Seems pretty minimal to have a facility open for 3 different levels of education down there. K5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, 12 is pretty cheap to me, but I'm just one vote, so.
Well, I look at it also as that it's a media center. For instance. So I assume that's what we classify in library/media center. So basically the old term was library. Now it's basically the modern terms, media center is what they're converted to, in logical way, I guess that's how I would put it, but, so, in other words, if my main concern would be is that we have just like Jeff reiterated, we have a multi-grade type of facility in our district that has nobody there during that time frame during the actual school hours when kids have a chance to use that type of facility. And that right there, I do have a concern about that.
Well, you know, and the other thing too, it's not only does that bring another person into that building, but trying to get people to do things when you're limited. I mean, I'm talking, even if it's just taking money at the gate or being a sponsor or doing something for the kids after school or something, when you keep eliminating, there's nobody to do that. And then they have a hard time of trying to get people to do that. So I don't know, that's just,
How much FTE does Lynn spend at Wakefield? What percentage?
Oh, that was in last month's packet. I don't really remember.
If we're gonna.
I know 2 days of the week it's closed completely. There's nobody in there. And
I'm just wondering if we're gonna make a full position that has somebody in that library all day, every day. Then maybe we can look at it district wide, see if her times that are spent at another building or shift around it, but. Not saying that she doesn't ever go down there, but maybe we need to adjust.
She's there on Monday and then part of Wednesday morning and Friday afternoon.
But I would like to get Lynn's input.
I suggest we can get hired to cover it, and we'll make the adjustments we need to make. And it gives us that flexibility, you know? So, but, I just think with it being a K through 12, it needs to be open. Don't leave it great, so.
Now, to cover it, are you suggesting halftime, just to cover the opening?
Well, I mean, it'd be best if we could get a full-time person there as an aide. Kids see the same person every day, staff. And that, I don't know if that person's available. And if it's not, then what other options can we come up to at least get it open more? I mean, that would be my preference. I don't know how others would.
Brett, how do you come up with the salary portion of that?
How much an aide costs?
Yeah,
We took all of our aides and.
like library, took the library aides we have now.
Just though I pulled just library aides and took the average of,
So the average of our library aides right now is 22,975.
times the number of contract hours that they are, that's.
Cause I'm thinking, you know, if you take 7 hours a day times 180 contact days at $13 an hour, that's like 16,400.
They're at 37.5,
Okay, so,
but it's.
but still, if you take 7 hours a day times 5 is 35. But if you take that times our $13, that's only 16,400 bucks. You know, and I-
That's if they're at the base.
So I know, and I understand that, that's if at their base, but even if you gotta take them up a couple steps, it's, you know, put that in there, and if they take the health insurance, that's a big benefit, I assume, that's what that 9,000 is. That's a big perk, but depends on who it is and how old they are and things like that, so.
FICA and Medicare's 7.5%. So you have tacked on top of whatever that $13, you calculate it up what that base is and then put your FICA and Medicare on top of that.
Yeah, but this number here is including FICA and all that,
Right.
that 22.9. So, I don't know, I think for what we have down there, the enrollment's gone up down there in the last couple of years.
And I think, it's kind of like, taxes, no one remembers when you lower them, no one remember when you raise them. I think the important thing for me to note is at Wakefield, we did add that full-time intervention teacher a couple of years ago. And we added an aide, and so we have added several staff members at Wakefield, and I think staff, and it doesn't matter the building, I think. We remember really, we're humans, but we remember when we lose, but remember when we gain, and so we.
Well, then that makes these staff numbers even look worse from 2011 and 12 if you add the extra new ones you put in there.
I can only speak for.
You understand what I'm saying, though, I mean, if you look at the classified FTE, you know, it went from 10.5 to 5. You know, so that takes bodies out of that building that can do other things for students that we aren't, I mean, how we handle them now, if we had 10.5 back then. You know, and it's just like in the certified, back in 11 and 12, there was 24 at Wakefield, and now there's 19, but everybody else has gone up in that time frame.
I know my vote won't matter on this. It's just that we are making decisions that aren't, in my calculations, aren't fiscally responsible because we should put the money where the students are. But we keep adding resources to our smallest building. But again, my vote won't matter, so.
Is the middle school in Clay, is that library media center full-time?
And we just hired her tonight, a new person tonight.
So so just in that building alone, this chart, 243. And if I add up the different grade levels in Wakefield, that's 220. So we're talking a difference of 23 students. I mean,
Lynn's at the middle school. 3 hours. Tuesday and 3 hours on Thursday. She's only there 6 hours. Because I'm just.
but there's someone always there, though.
I'll make a motion that we add a full-time library aide away to
Second.
school. Motion and second. Yeah. All those in favor? Motion carries. 6-1.
All those opposed.
Oh, sorry, 6-1. All right. Get that covered. Do all that. Next meeting's Monday, August 12th.
Yeah.
At 6 p.m. If we do need to do something, like say, don't be afraid to reach out or something. Whether it's that lumber for the house or whatever, we gotta do something, just,
The big one
let
was
us know.
that we might have, was our personnel has been, we got that preschool, if you guys approve it, filled, so that was. Timing of that and the start of school and staff coming back was gonna be super awkward, so. Good thing.
That would be they've done a good job. Brad and Jacqueline, everybody, when you hire people, it just blows my mind that somebody can take a job and sign a contract. And if they decide they're gonna leave the state of Kansas, where they can just take off and there's nothing you can do about it, this. That's tough, so. We got lucky and appreciate all that. Wow. No commitment anymore. So. I was shocked when I heard that. Something on that, when you're outside looking in, you don't realize that, you know, these contracts, Just like college football coaches, right? They sign them for 10 years and then. Then a job comes along in 3 and they're out of there, you know what I'm saying? So.
This is one of the careers that you have to decide in April that you're leaving August. So that is tough. You have to make that decision in your head now. You wouldn't really take a job and then quit before you start it, but it is one of the tough parts about being a teacher.
Okay, budget. Presentation for on the next meeting, correct? Yep. We'll get to the budget presentation. And then, future agenda items is KSB delegate assembly.
Conventions in November, and I think in September, they'll start asking who wants to be the voting delegate for the convention and an act.
So we get to pick a board member.
Who was
They
it
get-
last? Oh, you did a hell of a job. So,
And it does open up, if you have desires as a board member. To contribute more at the state level or at, at the regional level, it allows some opportunities to do some, to kind of. Get your foot in the door and see what those kinds of things are.
is that, all right, questions on that? Again, anything that, of you, if there's something you want to talk about, or email me, whatever, and we'll get it on there and, get a chance to talk about it. So with that, we're gonna take a little small 5-minute break and we'll come back. Right.
How are you?
Hey, you know, yeah, we're calling the new principals. Like, can we invite them to the board, even if it's before, just a chance to meet the new principal? I know we talked about possibly working at lunch or something like that.
Are you, I forgot to put them down for the lunch on August 5th too. The board.
Will
But I'll
the
send-
principal be
They
there?
will be there.
Okay.
That'd be, you'll
Okay.
senior teachers and the
Okay.
principals.
Yeah, I think that'll be good.
Okay.
And we can have them come to the August or September meeting. Yeah, I'd like to be able to see that.
Yeah.
So. We good? All right. Okay, so.
Yep. And I'm all sure.
Biting the opener. Did the wall mount. The yeah. And I like that. It's quieter. It's in those bigger doors, I think that's the issue. It's got one, there's a frame in.
By
We made 10 by quarter by our. 10 by 9 last year. Mhm.
Oh, Sheldon, our shop. was building this building.
Yeah.
We're good. And I think I put 10 and 16.
Yeah.
Just to get more space for line body backwards, so.
Yeah.
Try to put some heat in it.
I ran a line for gas, so if I just.
Heat up there, you got.
I got the line, there's, and I put just a 8-foot door on the west side, on the north. Straight, yeah, so you can open it up, I can go straight out the back. Before we're having fun.
Well, I will do that.
Yeah, I'm ready to tear the kitchen wall down, I think, yeah, this week.
Oh, to open there. Lynn said she was wanting some boxes. So she packed up her hands. I told you, we got a bunch of.
Yeah. Kind of carry over. It does. The kitchen cabinets.
There's a.
How many?
So you do.
Yeah.
We can, want us to serve lunch.
But I need to get that wall, you know.
Terry.
To make sure, you know.
Yeah.
No, kind of where, supposed to be the project kind of guy where it's got to be.
Like that before, don't forget.
So that wall.
Lock that.
I think we've been going back.
I might do this on- put that thing.
So excited, she kind of goes like, not grant.
But it's just.
Did you courts? Yeah, the courts, the new courts or. We didn't see.
Which one is yours, where you have to treat it every 6 months or something like that?
I don't think that courts are probably doing it roughly.
Yeah, I think the Pacific.
We put granite on ours, but we only did an inch. Didn't put so much weight on my whole floor.
So, yeah. She's making that outfit.
Yes.
Pretty good and
There's
good.
a lot of granite counters.
I wasn't sure what to expect on that, and I figured it out. I'm
Yes,
gonna get about 3.
Brand initial due date was next weekend, coming again, then they changed it yesterday. Sometime.
I haven't seen the cat.
Ready.
That'll be a.
He did it when he built his home, and then he He found this, we had to run a company or something too, and made them, you know, they made us those dealers.
No, maybe some dealers like to buy.
So they could buy it cheap. And I disassembled the, I said, let's put it together. But there's, you know, there was those huge, like, 50 stations. Daddy, they're still.
The day before. But all my babies.
Construction.
Gotcha. My mom with him.
Oh,
And they wanted to do the mic lumber yard.
That, yeah, that, yeah.
I'm sure they get very healthy.
Or-
I forgot about that one, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. My son, he's really good. But I can figure out which they're good for, about where's that, you're ready to big sister, not you, they're ready.
Yeah.
They're very excited.
Old.
We had one cabinet left. Yeah. Yeah, and then he bought a tile.
All right, ready to go again?
Oh,
Breaking. Let's do it all that. I move we go into executive session to discuss superintendent's contract. And that the open meeting shall resume at 7:25. Again, the exec session should include the board and council. Second. Motion second, all those in favor? Motion carries. 7:2.
Yeah, I thought.
Yeah.
good.
I knew this is good. It's 11:75, we added $1 and a $4.
So that's on, choosing the menu.
Oh, and a quarter plus the step.
Well, if I'm posting a job, the base is 13, right? Okay. Okay, that Wakefield is out there.
I got some ready for you.
I have somebody.
Okay.
Okay, I can tell you one person that's gonna apply.
She will apply.
Oh, she will. She's already.
Is this on? Yeah. I think it's on.
Okay, so are they gonna go back to the other thing? They're not gonna cut that.
I just wrote up.
He wants to start.
Alright. Love it.
I just wrote down everything.
Who was the Yeah, he was.
He's got key. He's been talking to Dallas.
About what?
Buying the Tiger House.
Where?
Put down one of our pieces of land. I would want it, and then to it, it's like big enough. Uh-huh.
They're like 17 square foot.
Yeah, I
18.
No, but I am not for, I think, the better.
So you guys are.
Maybe Dallas would like to.
If he is.
You missed it.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, I can understand that.
We don't farm, so we don't need to be there, but we
But
have a quarter section up north.
It's close.
It's north of those white things on the place that.
That's a ways out there, though. By the white tank.
Mhm.
West,
That was our land where the white things are. It's up that road to the north.
right before 81.
Our house is south of where our farm is 1 mile south of those things. That's where our farm is.
Oh, I know you're the one that's pregnant, but I can't open my computer. Can you come read this? I can't move my computer to you, so you have to come to me.
1 mile south.
God, aren't those white tanks within a mile of the highway?
They're on one. They're on 24 highways, big white thing.
No, you're on the south side.
One mile south, but I just got land use. I'm on, yeah, 160.
Which there were some of those that I tried to clean up on the
Build the
ones that I did send them. I saw a few and I did what I could, but
Because we have 80 acres where.
I did not read the whole.
Dallas, south of the houses.
Or it may have changed that.
That pasture.
Yeah.
I might be too close. But we own that land that the takes sat on, that had been in his family for years. And then it started leaking, and then started making a big ruts down our ground.
What was it leaking?
The fuel.
Oh, those are fuel tanks.
And so they had to call, the EPA. And then that, other than us having to put it, so we sold it for a pretty nice price. So I have kitten number 2 with that one. Mine would probably like putting it in, it's lost a pet, but if I had a kitten. It would be in the cat. I got one for you. Mine wants to be out in the screaming, I mean, the baby, she was, I guess her daughter. They're lost her bunny and the kitty, and they're on the beach, so they're. The radio church. So children. That's all I just got from the grab. Okay, so. I'm not radio and newspaper.
What is it called? Special counsel?
And this counts on development. Excited. I am excited. We need more adults. Come on here. I'm sorry. I'll get myself to have Jack.
It's kind of boring. This is happening.
And when they look, they thought it used to be like they.
It's a good time to get a snack, but if you're hungry.
August is advertised for cupcakes and.
As done as they can be.
After. Wait, was you get that? I didn't say that. Anytime. Gave them my two platform. Right.
Yeah. I wrote you guys a loan note. There you go. Put it on your fridge.
Does it say the yellow line?
I'll come over.
Okay, so we're resuming the meeting here, on the, pay, so I moved to give final approval to the superintendent's salary, an increase of 4%.
Second.
Motion second, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Then we go to approval of personnel. Any questions there? The personnel? God, I move to approve the personnel report, including supplemental updates as presented.
Second.
Motion second, all those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. Make the motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
In a second, all those in favor?